What's going on, guys? I didn't get a chance to make a video this morning. Unfortunately, I was just way too busy at work and it didn't work out for me. However, we did talk about a few things over the weekend a little bit and on Friday as well. And one of the things that I wanted to keep our eyes on was NVdA, NVdA. And one of the key things that we were discussing was how if we came back, we wanted to watch this previous area between 238 and 237.23. And if we look down to the 1 minute to see when we opened up here, if we were going to open up and be above 239 at all, if we had touched 240, that was my idea, then we were going to want to look for a back test hold of 237.23 to 238.68. Those are the two levels. So immediately we dumped down. And we did end up going lower, like we went to 236.80. However, if you look and see what happened with the candle body, we closed exactly at 237.23. That's how you play a confirmation. If the body was to close below, the next one opens below, it starts flushing, it comes back, it back tested as resistance, bodies can't close back above, then you go, well, wait a second, that was a fake out. However, it was not. We came down and we didn't close below here. We wicked to 237.02. We bought back up to that same level, which was tough to get above, 238.68. Look at the candle body, closed directly below, fell back down, closed directly on, and then we ripped through. Now we've broken up. And we ended up reaching a pretty key area of resistance. And I believe we have talked about this on the channel as well, of that 232 something. So now we're going to put this here on those candle bodies right there. And that's going to give us potentially our next breakout area if we can break out. So now we're getting a fall back down. So the first time that we broke down from the 238.68, we didn't hold it as support. So this time we come down, we want to hold that as support. So I'm not interested, personally, I'm not too interested in this 239. It could end up becoming an area, so you can put a line there in the candle bodies and see what happens. If we can't seem to close below that, well, then maybe that is going to be the level. But for me, it's 238.68 to 238.85 because of how, well, you could actually put it on this area. Oh, okay, that's where the 239.50 comes in. Now I see. This one right here. 239.43. So I can see if this does continue to hold as support, which as of right now, we haven't been closing candle bodies below. That could make sense. But a break of that, I'd be looking for the 238.68. That's more of a key level for me, but we'll have to see. I do believe that longs will be good here. And eventually, when we do find our level and we bounce, you're going to want to see break and close and bodies continuing to close and then bodies not being able to close back below 242.32 to potentially 242.20 in that range. If you look here, we didn't have a candle body close above. We broke down here and then we came up and we tried to close above and we failed again. Same deal, and then same with the low. If you wanted to find it out, if you do take the entry up in this area, find that same body right here, 241, 75, and then if you start closing bodies below 241.75, then that'll be like a good stop loss point later. So right now, it does seem like potentially it is going to hold this area, but just give it a little bit more chance to figure it out. And then same with if you want to take a smaller, opportunity to the upside, 240.40 will be the same thing I was just talking about up top for a potential confirmed break here. If you can start closing bodies and holding above that, that could be a reclaim and could confirm if you are buying this area. Then you want to wait for it to get back up and start closing bodies above and maybe holding this as support, and then you should get your pump to the upside. So right now it does seem like this is starting to become the bottom area, so we'll have to just keep watching this 239.43 area. That could be the one, and then just keep in mind that if it does break that and start closing bodies below, then your area could end up being this. But for now, it looks like it wants to pump back up, and until it can close back above here, that'll be your out or your entry as well. And then let's look at the SPY, because the SPY's been pushing 407. I've had a level up here. This is just based off of trend lines. It could go anywhere within that range because there's a lot of wicks here. So, you know, I was kind of considering the possibility of the high being up at this trend line, which is about 408. However, right now we're kind of sitting at this old previous high of 407.40 right here. You can see we had a little high, retest, and then a fail. So we're kind of just testing that. So it's a pretty obvious short area, which sometimes obvious short areas don't actually end up working out. But you can do the same thing with the bodies here. Boom, 406.83 to this high right here, 407.10, and then zoom over and say, hey, are we flipping this yet? And right now, 406.80 to 406.10, you can see how it's working out. So just something to watch here. If we can start closing candle bodies above and confirming that, which right now it does kind of look like it's just flagging to continue up. So that'll be something to watch for SPY. And then, you know, as we approach the 408.50 to 60, I mean, that doesn't have to be a level. It can be, you know, you can find a level based off of some candle bodies here. We had a nice little double bottom right this area. You know, we could be heading back to potentially retest some of this range here that was previously resistance, maybe 410.82 to 411. Couldn't close below, then finally we closed below, which is right here, 410.35. That's going to be my area that I'm going to say makes the most sense to me. 410.35, what's this down here? We got a 409.15. So you have a little bit of a range here too, because right here we broke down. We couldn't flip this to resistance. Then we came up. We got rejected at the 412.50. This is 408. Yeah, it's about 409 was the last level, really, that once we closed below, that was kind of it. So, I mean, it's going to be a little bit of a range from 407 to 410, you know, 407 to 410.50. But I like 409 and then 410.50. So anyway, I mean, it's going to be tough to figure it out. We are, you know, just kind of extended here, but it doesn't seem like just yet we're getting any type of resistance or rejection. This could just be back testing a previous breakdown here, which would make sense at that 409, even off of the daily candles. But there's a lot of daily, you know, it's hard to pinpoint an exact top there off the daily bodies. So, I mean, if this ends up becoming the rejection, that could make sense. And then 409 could make sense. And then up here at, you know, 410.50 could make sense. So those three levels, and it's kind of tricky to like call the top exactly. But that being said, right now, we're just kind of like poking our heads above some of that area, but it's nothing we haven't done before. So if you look at a 1 minute, you bring this up to the top body right there, 407.34. That could be the area. And then on the low side, if you were looking for a breakdown for the day, then you can go off of potentially the last low bodies, which would be right here. Put your trend, and if we start closing bodies below the 406.30 and finding resistance there again, or you could go below this one because that seems to be between 406.16 and 406.30 on the downside. If we do start closing bodies below that and finding resistance on it, then you could say that this is going to break down. So this is kind of where you're at right now between the 406.16 and the 407.34. It's heading back up here. Does it finally reclaim it and break to the upside? Does it reject and then just continue kind of chopping in here? And then lastly, let's look at Tesla because it's been very weak today. It's one of the weakest stocks today. But it is just holding up, and it's kind of in a similar... Let me see if I can get this. Excuse me. Sorry, watch your ears. I work with a lot of sawdust, so like my phone kind of doesn't want to charge right now. But oh well, I'm gonna make this quick in case it dies. So Tesla ended up reaching that $200. I ended up taking my profits at 247-ish to 240. And it ended up being a beautiful, you know, I had a potential idea that it could come up to 201, whatever, up higher, maybe 203s. But we ended up, you know, selling it, and that was a perfect freaking, almost top ticked it. So now I'm looking at Tesla. Now today, my first idea as I saw us in the 198s was this is not a level for us. Our level, which I've changed as of right now, but I still think it's going to be important, was the 195.66. It did come in pretty clutch like this morning. It was bouncing off it quite a bit. You can see even right here, it kind of shows you, if you go off of the bodies here, 195.66, 195.65. Couldn't close any candle bodies above until we finally did, but we can't just back test it. It's just kind of a middle of a range though. Right now there is a pretty obvious range on Tesla going down to, you know, as low as this 194.70 area. So you kind of have this similar thing where the bears are like really controlling this right now. It has been the weakest stock of the day. I mean, as far as the tech and the bigger stocks, it's been the weaker one. So it's just kind of struggling in here. I kind of started drawing out a little bit of a pattern. Don't really care too much about it. What I want to see is maybe some candle bodies poking above this 196.80 and flipping it to support. That could give us a pretty good idea if Tesla is going to be able to do anything. And then 197.50 is the next level. And then above that, we should be able to start breaking upwards of, 198.50 and then 199.20. And then if we break to the downside, we still have that 193.15 as a big support to 192.89. And then below that, you start getting into the 91.50s and the 90s. So Tesla is definitely fighting for its life right now. It's not really the best trade of the day unless you get above the 197.80. It's hard to even short right now. I mean, if you were buying any of this morning, or sorry, adding puts anywhere in here, I mean, you are probably in the money and you're just kind of waiting for this trend to continue down. That could be exactly what's happening here. But I do like that it's holding up like all day, but it is very slow. Obviously, there's not too much else to talk about. You know, the 15-minute candle looks like shit right now. We're kind of rejecting that 95.65 area. The dailies are just like double spinning tops here, so nothing too beautiful. I don't know. It's not really much things that I'm looking for. It could potentially be a short, but right now buying puts, unless you start breaking below 94.70 or start closing candle bodies below this $95, those are the two things to watch. But as the market remains strong, I don't know if Tesla will end up breaking down. If the market rolls over in the next couple hours, then Tesla is going to be the first one to drop. So as far as shorts, this might not be a bad setup to watch, but we kind of got to see candle bodies start to close below here. And until then, you're just looking like you're just going sideways until you decide to pump up. So, you know, I was considering some longs here in this 94.60. I haven't done it yet. Then I was considering longs here in the 95.03. Still haven't done it yet. So I'm just kind of like watching it a little bit. So maybe if I end up getting a pop above this 96.80 and start closing and maybe holding as support, then maybe I'll start looking for a long. But right now it's getting halfway through the day here. You know, what is it going to do? Maybe this will be something to look for tomorrow. Unless we just end up opening up below 94.70, then obviously now you're just going to be looking for shorts. So it could be gearing up for a short day tomorrow, or it could be gearing up for a long day in the afternoon. We just have to watch. It's just kind of in a boring range. So not too much going on. And then lastly, I got to take lunch, so I got to quickly get this last thing. Apple, we kind of were looking for that 154. That's what I was talking about. If we could break this 149.16, which we did do that on I don't know I think it was Friday. We kind of ended up just breaking that, and it just went sideways on top of it here, making a nice flagging action. Then it started pushing up to 150s, and then it was at like 151 at the close, and we pretty much just been ripping to the upside. So last time we got rejected was really up in this range here of 154.30 to a high of 154.83. And we couldn't really finish off with any daily candles. You can see all the wicks would come up to about 56.30, which is what we just did right now, or where we are right now. But bodies could never close above the 154.83. So this is going to be a big moment for Apple, because last time we were in this range, we saw a huge rejection. This could happen again. If it does, though, what you want to watch is you want to see, does 154.80 hold as support? That's going to be a big moment, because if it can finally hold it as support, then you could be looking for potentially some longs. Let me look at, like, maybe I could find a better level than 154.80, because that was just off. Well, it was off the dailies, though, so it's pretty important. But, you know, you kind of have this level down here at 152.86 as well, just off of those hourly bodies. But if we end up ranging, if we get like a big rejection, 152.30, 152.30, it's kind of tough. I mean, I keep just dropping this down. 150.140 to 154.83. That's kind of a range. If we do get a big sell-off rejection, maybe that's the area that you want to buy it from, 150.140. Watch for support on that. Kind of makes sense here. You can see couldn't close candle bodies below. When you do, you come down to that 149.16, same level that I was discussing. Bounce back up, then you couldn't close a candle body back beneath it, so it confirmed it, and then it rallied up to about 156, and then it rejected with candle body right here at 156. Boom, back down, tried to hold it as support, finally closed below, and then it dropped back down. So now you're kind of pushing back into that 156 area to 156.30. Can you flip any of these levels into new support? If you want to get a little bit better, maybe it's not 83, maybe it's 57. It's kind of really tricky right now for me to completely call an exact level because I'm not spending much time. I like the 154, and I like the kind of like 154. I think maybe that's going to be. It's so hard. I can't give you an exact price. It's just really challenging right now for me. But I like 150.140, and then somewhere between the 54.80 to 154. If we get a pullback here, potentially to continue the day, if we're going to continue to rally. I do think we're getting into some key resistance that could be a potential shorting opportunity. And as this does start to happen, though, this could start gearing Tesla up for its break because it is starting right now to get back to those lows. So this might end up being actually a pretty good short. So I'm going to get this video out here because I want this to hopefully load up before that short entry ends up working for us. But if we do break the 94.69, which it still isn't doing, you can see the candle body starting to close below the 95.03, which was previous support. But now, you know what I mean? Look at this was the previous candle body. Boom, couldn't close below, buys back up. You got to break down all the way down here to 94.80, and the body just comes right back in. And then boom, you're going to get a little bit of a pump. I'm not saying this is, you know, going to rip all the way back up, but just saying that's why this is very challenging and choppy, because you just can't seem to get. And then once you do break down below here, then you come down here and you can't close below the 94.69. So you kind of have to watch those two levels for any type of short entry if they want to give you any. But yeah, just keep an eye on a few things today. Shorts might be good tomorrow, but for now we kind of are just continuing to pump until we find resistance. And you know, you got a little bit of not bullish divergence. So anyway, watch 96.80 for like confirmed hold for the upside on Tesla, and then the 94.70 break and close below as resistance, or 95.05 as resistance, one of those two levels, and that could give you a good short. So those are the two things. If we do end up bouncing here end of day and rallying above the 97, then Tesla's probably going to be pushing to break that 200. But right now it's very, very weak. Like, can't even really get any pump other than like 30 cents or 40 cents. So it's just a range right now. But yeah, this might end up breaking down for today. So yeah, I'm going to let you guys go. I'm going to eat lunch. Have a good day. Good luck with your trading.